Tiger Wolf. 3, 2, 1. Hello. It's another Tiger Wolf video. We are back from our spring hiatus. Today we're going to be covering board games, our top 12 board games. Which is exactly the number you were looking for when you searched in the Google machine.
Yeah, most of the time everybody's looking for top 12 lists. Without further ado, Nathan's going to take it away with his first game. Here we go.
Okay, and we're back with a game called Ticket to Ride, based on the Beatles song. Not really.
Is it really?
No.
It
is. There's a whole subgenre of games all about that are set in trains, the world of trains, and I think that's because it's so easy to kind of build railways and add trains, and like there's a natural mechanic there for gaming purposes. So this is one of many of those games, and this is one that is extremely accessible. I like games that are simple and can easily be taught. So I can bring it to new people, and within a couple of turns, whoever's playing has got it. And despite that simplicity, it has enough strategy that I don't really see myself ever really getting tired of it.
That's cool.
Yeah, so it comes with a lot of great expansions too. Like the regular game comes with a map in North America. I have a map for India and for Switzerland as well. You can get one for Europe and for the Nordic countries, and so and they've all got slightly different wrinkles to them, but they're all essentially the same idea. It's really just about collecting trains, getting to the destinations you need to. It's a victory point game.
Okay.
But the strategy comes into trying to make sure that you get the routes that you need before somebody else does, or you can block somebody else. I play with my daughter. She is very quick to cut me off as soon as she knows where I'm going. Daughter has played nasty against the faults I've discovered. So, yeah. In every game we play.
Down with the man.
Absolutely. Apparently I am the man.
You are the man.
Yeah, so this is also one of the first games. This is published by Days of Wonder, which is a pretty well-known company. A lot of the reason because of this. I mean, there are sort of big three gateway games in the world of board gaming. That's Settlers of Catan, Carcassonne.
What do you mean by gateway? You mean like people who don't play board games and they're just getting used to it?
Yeah.
Entry level?
This is how they get into the world of board gaming. I mean, Settlers of Catan is the biggest one. Most people have heard of that.
Yeah.
Carcassonne's another one, and Ticket to Ride is I'd say the third one. And they're all very different, but they all have that simplicity and accessibility and longevity.
Yeah.
So Days of Wonder only releases usually one game a year because they really try to focus on making sure that the game they release is fantastic.
Yep. Which is always nice.
Absolutely, and the games are consistently very, very enjoyable. And they're also one of the first ones to utilize apps. So there was a big concern about apps cannibalizing the market. People are buying apps for really cheap, or for free. Then why would they buy the game? But they're totally different experiences. Yeah. You can get the Ticket to Ride app for like $2.99 or something like that. The Ticket to Ride Europe app is actually free.
Yep.
Which is how I kind of got into the game. I was like, this is really cool, and then went and bought the actual board game.
Yep.
Which, this game continues to be a huge seller, so obviously the app has not cut into their business at all. So, yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, one of the titans of the hobby.
And there's a lot to be said for having a break from screens. Like everybody is attached to iPhone screens and iPod screens and Android screens and television screens. So that's one of the reasons I think that both Nathan and I are so big on board games. Is it's a chance to completely disconnect. You can just put on a record and listen to some music, or be at a restaurant or like a board game kind of cafe. You can sit down and play a game, and you're giving your eyes a break, and it's more physical. So it's a good activity.
Kind of focuses your hangout time a little bit.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay, we go with Lord of the Rings, the card game. So this is another game that is licensed. We shouldn't say another, but it is a game that is licensed. Lord of the Rings obviously being the license, Fantasy Flight being the company that has that license, and just like with all their games, looks great. It is a living card game. So this is a variation on the collectible card game idea.
So what's the difference? What's a living card game?
So a collectible card game is you're always buying blind packs, and you don't know necessarily what you're going to get. A living card game is a game where they have a core set like what this is, and then you constantly buy, or not constantly, but you can continue to buy expansions that further the story. So this game has, it's a cooperative game. You can have up to 4 players, but it's sort of meant for 2. And you play there's 3 quests in there that you play. So everybody has their own individual deck, and you can mix and match the decks however you want to. You can just play the one style of deck if you want to. So there's a lot of variety there. You can really choose the 3 heroes you most want to play as. So you can either play like the big heroes, or you can kind of pull some of the lesser known guys if you really want to.
Okay.
And as you buy more of the adventure packs that can further the story, you get more heroes, more villains, more quests.
These adventure packs then, or
this is all just core set here. Yeah. So if you buy adventure packs, you get more of those kinds of cards. Because it has I Mordor in the back, you know that those are the villains, obviously. So the reason I really like this game is because the customizability of it, because you have these hero decks that you can just sort of mix and match, and some of the quests are so hard that the only way they can be beat is if you really kind of optimize your deck as much as possible. And again, I like kind of like in Sentinels and Multiverse, I like the fact, or Dominion, or a lot of other card games that we have, that you're buying a known quantity when you buy the packs. I'm not really into the whole like buying a blind pack and hoping you get something good.
Yeah. And so you're not a Magic the Gathering fan?
No, I've never. I mean, I could see that happening if I gave it a chance. But,
yes, you're not willing to give it a chance.
Exactly. There's a lot of other games I'd rather be like this. I'd rather be putting money into for buying a bunch of expansions and stuff. So, yeah, it is.
What is this thing for?
That's for counting your hit points.
Hit points.
Yeah. So it is, it's kind of similar to other games that are on the list, where it's a card game, it's cooperative.
Cool.
But it's also got a lot, different experience every time you play the game, which is another big thing for me. So.
This game is sort of cheating, so it's not really a board game, and you can see all of our cheap lighting is kind of reflecting off of it. But this is a game by Lego, and it's a game called Life of George. And what's kind of cheating about it is that it's sort of a board game, but it's sort of not. What I like about it is that you have to have like an iPhone, and then you've got this kind of card that you lay down on the table, and then the iPhone in the app, it gives you some sort of puzzle you have to make with Lego blocks. So feel free to open it up and take a look at that.
Is that part of the game, how you open it?
It is super cool, because basically all it is a bunch of standard Lego blocks. Nate's got a bunch there, but the way it works is with the board underneath, and so you use the iPhone camera, and it's so cool. Like, you put this board down, and I actually pulled it close, but you put the board down on the table, and then at the end, once you've finished, it's a race, so you're trying to make the design that it puts on the app as quickly as you can, and then you take a picture of it with your iPhone afterwards. And then it gives you like a kind of a percentage score based on how you did. So I think what I like about it is you can see from inside the box, there's really not a lot to it. It's just basic Lego blocks, this board, and your iPhone or whatever device. So it's kind of portable. You can take it with you wherever you want to go. And
this is like a magic eye.
Yeah.
I think I can see Einstein. When did this come out?
A few years ago. I don't remember what year it came out.
Because
we'll look it up and put it in the show notes.
Incorporating apps into games is becoming more and more of a thing.
Totally.
And I think in the games that I've seen, it's usually about tracking things. Like actually, Sentinels of the Multiverse has a companion app that helps you keep track of hit points and stuff like that.
Nice.
There's a new game out called Alchemist that keeps track of all the different ingredients you have for the potions that you make.
Yep.
That kind of stuff. So it's becoming more and more of a common thing, and it's only natural, I think. I think it'll only become more of a thing. So, I mean, they're ahead of the curve, really.
Yeah, I mean, this one Life of George won a ton of awards, just because it's just such an innovative yet simple idea.
Right.
I think I like games where it's so simple to understand when you pick it up that you can pick it up and play it and have fun, and it's a cool novelty.
Are you just competitive against other online people?
No, you play physically, so it's sort of got a board game. I think that's why we like board games, right? Is because you can play it with real people in a real location, and it's not virtual, it's physical. So you're in the same space.
It's a true social dynamic.
Yeah. That's it. All right, first licensed game. Well, I mean, sort of. We talked about another one, but
this license is Lord of the Rings, as you can see. It came out around the time the first, the Fellowship of the Ring came out. So obviously that became a very hot license around that time. And this game really plays off of it. Did you play Stratego back in the day?
I never played it actually. Was it good?
It is cool. There's the dynamic I like, and I like this in a lot of games where there's a blind dynamic. So I have a group of guys, say I'm the Fellowship. I'm trying to get Frodo to throw the ring into Mount Mordor, Mount Doom. Mm-hmm. If you're the forces of Mordor, you're trying to capture Frodo. But you can see where my guys are, but you don't know who they are, and I can see where your guys are, but I don't know who they are. So
okay.
You're trying to guess which one is Frodo. And I'm trying to guess which one of your guys is like the Witch King, which one's like an orc, and that kind of a thing. So we're running around and like trying to avoid each other, or I'm trying to avoid you, and you're trying to chase me, and I'm trying to like make sure that when I do fight you, I'm using the right guy to best fight an orc or whatever it might be.
Right.
So there's a lot of kind of guesswork, but
That's fun.
there's a lot of strategy too, because you're saying like, well, obviously this guy's stronger in this area, so he probably has that particular character. This is one they've had for a while that I really like. It's a 2-player game.
So 2-player only.
Yeah, 2-player only.
Okay.
Plays 20 to 30 minutes, which is pretty quick.
Yep.
And you can teach it really quickly.
Yep.
And that's fantastic. I think if you like into Stratego or you're into chess type stuff, it's a quality game. I like it quite a bit.
Cool.
Yeah.
Right on.
Lord of the Rings: The Confrontation. Okay, here we are with a board game called Sentinels of the Multiverse. Now, this is a game that came out at a time when there were not really any superhero games, and of course we live in a world where Marvel owns the movie theaters. Their superheroes are everywhere like never before, but there are no good board games around that. And so this game came out. It was a few guys who decided to make a game that they wanted to play where they could really be the heroes. And so they did create their own universe. And so that is kind of a novel thing where it has like all their own art, and they've created storylines around all the characters and all that kind of stuff. To be honest, a lot of that comes off kind of hokey. I know that a lot of people who like the game really like that side of it.
Yep.
I kind of look at it and I'm like, okay, this is like the stock Superman character. Here's the stock Batman character. There's a lot of that kind of stuff.
Though, right?
Yeah. But the reason I like the game so much is because it really is immersive in playing as the hero. So you get to pick a character. There's a villain that's out there. There's a setting that's out there, and you're playing within the city, and there's different things happening within the city. The villains are always doing stuff to make your life more difficult. It's a cooperative game, so you're working together with the other heroes that you're there with. And every time you play, there's just a number of different heroes you can play with. And so it makes for a different experience every time. It's not an easy game by any stretch. Some of the villains are extremely tough to play against. Every expansion they release has kind of a new wrinkle to it. So I have a couple of expansions, and they've since released one where you can fight multiple heroes at the same time.
Yep.
I have one where there's like time travel involved. So it's a really fun game. It's a little bit fiddly, so as long as you don't mind kind of keeping track of hit points and stuff like that.
So you have to actually write out your points and things. So it's cards and
counters here.
Okay, so you use counters.
That's okay. Yeah, it has like a little counter you keep up with. You're just always kind of trying to figure, okay, so I got hit by 3 hit points, gotta make sure I got that, and I just picked up 2 more hit points, I gotta bring those back, that kind of a thing. But
and so you use the counters to keep track of your points.
exactly.
Okay.
And all the different the characters all have very different feels. So again, if you have that kind of Batman style character, he has a lot of devices. The Superman style character is always helping his friends out, that kind of stuff. So
It doesn't have one of those great sorting boxes like we had in that Dungeons and Dragons game we played yesterday, though.
yeah,
It's too bad, but the cards are amazing. Like I love the art's really great actually on some of them. Like
Yeah.
quite like that, and I love card games, so it's nice. I can't wait. I haven't tried this one yet, so
We'll pull it out sometime. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Right
That
on.
is Sentinels of the Multiverse.
So for our next one, we're going to do a Kickstarter game that I love, and I think I love themes. I love games that have a really strong visual element to it, that they just look good. One of the challenges I think with indie board game makers is that I don't know, something about their packaging sometimes it just isn't as nice. But I'm starting to see people improving their packaging. But Boss Monster, what I like about it, well, first off, it's a card game. So there's something nice about like having these like really attractive card designs with this kind of 8-bit art style to them. It's just really a nice art style. What I liked about Boss Monster is that it's a building mechanic. So it's for, 2 to 4 players, I think. And so each of you picks which monster you are, and then you kind of build up your dungeon or whatever. I will admit that the first time I tried to play this game, it took me a long time to figure it out. It just took me a while to wrap my head around it. I remember we spent a good amount of time going through YouTube tutorials, and luckily there's some people that made some really good ones, so I'd be totally happy to link to those in the comments. But yeah, Boss Monster, it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of a neat game mechanic, and it's a flip because you're the villain and you're trying to attract the heroes to your dungeon so you can destroy them. And I don't know, it's just kind of fun. I don't know, what did you think of it when you played it?
I think the things I really like about it are how thematic it is. Like,
yeah,
you do feel like you are the villain of an 8-bit style dungeon.
Yeah.
So it plays really well like that, and like the design totally fits that. The art is really great, and it's, once you get a hang of it, it is quite simple.
Yep.
So it becomes very intuitive to play. There's really just kind of symbols to keep track of.
It's actually worth getting the expansion pack for this one, because the expansion pack gives you items as well, and so then the items get attached. They just introduce some extra flavor and intensity to the game, which I would definitely recommend getting Boss Monster and the add-on pack for it.
Right.
If you go for it. The only drawback for me is, like, I kind of wish that there was a better box for containing all the cards, because I do find that they flop around a little bit.
Yeah. Games in general are kind of notorious for not having great inserts. So it's
not my favorite insert, but that's okay. And they're making a video game version too, so it'll be interesting to see what it's like on
a video game based on a board game based on a style, like video game style.
It's pretty meta. Yeah, so there we go. We'll see how that one plays out.
Cool. Here we go. It is time for Dominion. This is actually Dominion Intrigue, which is sort of a follow-up, but it's all the games work together. This is my personal favorite game, and
your favorite board game?
Yeah.
Out of anything?
Out of anything. Now, Dominion is if you pay attention to the games I like in particular, you'll notice a pattern where there may not be a whole lot of theme or art necessarily. The things that really pull me to a game are mechanics, and this game mechanically is just super tight.
Okay.
And I mean,
so what do you do? What's the purpose?
It's ultimately a victory point game, and sometimes people think of victory points and they think like, oh, that's kind of lame, we're just playing for points. The advantage to victory points is games end at the same time, so people aren't getting knocked out of a game before the game's over, that kind of a thing.
Right.
But the reason this game is so great is it's sort of the original deck builder game.
Okay.
The guy who designed it is a guy who playtested Magic, and he just was really into that style of game.
Okay.
Of course, Magic is a collectible card game, and so you have your core set, and you're always buying to try to get new cards. This you just buy a box, you get 30 different cards that you play with. Every time you play, you're using 10 of those. So you're constantly mixing and matching and making new combinations of cards. So every game you play is totally different. Everybody starts with the same hand, or the same 10 cards, and then from there, you totally make your decisions on how you build your own personal deck. And so what I find fascinating about it is, like, you and I and a third, fourth person start the game the same, and by the end, our decks are totally different. So we've all kind of really chosen, there's that kind of control to really choose how you want to play with it. They have released a number of expansions, I have a few of them. So every time you buy an expansion, that's like 30 new types of cards. So like the combination of types of games you can have is just about endless.
Nice.
Because like every time you play, you just change which cards you can play with that particular game.
Cool.
But it's just, the reason it's so tight is just because once you kind of go around the table a few times, everybody knows what they're doing. It just flows like so fast, and you just get a really good idea of what you want to do.
How many players and how long does it take to play through?
2 to 4, and the game usually takes probably close to 45 minutes.
Okay.
Even though it's not, you kind of wait for the next person's turn, again, it can go really fast. And there's just a lot of different styles of cards, so there's a lot of different kinds of strategy to it. And it's a pretty accessible game. Anybody I've taught it to has not had a hard time picking it up.
Mm-hmm.
And since this game, again, it created a whole subgenre of that deck building, and there's a ton of deck builders out there that have come out since.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially just a card game, so it's an easy game to make. but I still haven't played a game that is as good in that subgenre.
Right.
A lot of other people are like, oh, but this game, makes more sense thematically, and the art's better, and all this kind of stuff. But again, mechanically, nothing stands up to this. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm totally into it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I like it. For my next pick that we've got is a game called Gobble, and it's a you can tip it. It's one of the things that's really nice about Gobble. Yeah, it's sorry. It's all wood, which is really really nice. So it's sort of like checkers. Anyway, so this game. So let me start a little bit. I first heard about this game from Lance Priebe, otherwise known as Rocket Snail, the guy who co-founded and launched Club Penguin. So he's a big fan of this game, and I was like, why are you such a fan of this game? And anyways, it's sort of like checkers, where you have a board, and maybe actually I'll show you if you flip over the board. It's basically you take the idea of, slide this into the top. It's a great package, I'll say that. Like, it's ultra portable, easy to take with you, but it's basically sort of like a checkers skipping mechanic. But
I'm really struggling here.
So you can see that you've got these squares, and then you've got 2 players, and so it's black and white. But you can see that there's different sizes of guys, and so what you do is you gobble up the smaller sizes. It's only 2 players. But it's just nice because it's all wood components.
So it sort of fits in that world of abstract games like checkers and chess and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's almost like your checkers replacement. Each person has 12 pieces, but they fit into this nice compact, like three. Yeah, anyways, it's quite good. Goblet, and it all slides together really nicely, and it's good.
Cool. Yeah, so here we are with a cooperative game, which I think we probably have touched on by now.
Okay.
But this is a cooperative game that stands out to me for a few reasons. But one of them being that it is the most challenging cooperative game that I've played. So we've played a number of times, and I think I've only ever beat it twice on the easiest level. So cooperative games offer kind of a unique experience where you're getting to play, with people against the board, and so it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to not have to worry about like bad feelings because like people are like skunking you and trying to do whatever they can to wreck your experience within the context of the game. This is all about like playing against the board, and a really good cooperative game makes you feel like the whole time like you're on the verge of losing. And
okay, so that the stakes feel high enough.
Yeah, and like you're just like basically holding on by your fingertips the whole time to get through this game. And this game absolutely does that all the way through. Where like I feel like if we kind of mess up one single turn, then we're done. So
ooh, lots of parts, eh? Like
it's got kind of a cool.
That's neat.
Yeah. So basically, what's happened is it has a cool kind of setting where it's like a 70s. Kung Fu, kind of that Kung Fu horror genre that used to exist back then. And you're at a village that's getting haunted by these ghosts, one ghost in particular. And he's sending all his minions to take over this village. And you are like Kung Fu monks that are trying to ward off these ghosts. And
you're these little Kung Fu plastic guys?
Exactly. And each guy that you get has like sort of different powers and abilities. Some guys can move really fast, some guys can do more damage, that kind of a thing. And yeah, but it's just relentless because every single turn more ghosts keep coming, and sometimes more than one ghost will keep coming. And so again, if you ever kind of have a turn where you don't eliminate a ghost, and all of a sudden next turn you have 2 ghosts to deal with, and then 3 ghosts to deal with.
Okay.
You can just get
so it gets more stressful and
exactly
intense.
Yeah. So it's like I say, it's really challenging. The designer is a designer who I like quite a bit. His name's Antoine Bauza, and He's done, a lot of his games have kind of an Asian theme to him actually, but he's also done Seven Wonders, which I think you've played, which is a great game.
Yep. Oh yeah, Seven Wonders is fantastic.
He has a game called Hanabi, Tanoko. He's got a ton of games up, and they're all just very different and all very imaginative, so I really like his stuff. Yeah, this game is, it's a game my wife likes playing, so that gives it a positive notch because that means I'm more likely to get her to play a game with me. So
yeah,
and I think again the hook for her is really that challenge that exists. So you can play 2 to 4 players. I think it's a little bit funner with the max if you have all 4 people because everybody has their own character then.
And it's a little bit more co-op. Like, is it everybody together?
Yeah.
Or are there teams?
It's everybody
full
together.
Co-op.
Yeah, you're all doing whatever you can to keep that village from getting haunted.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so Ghost Stories. It's super tough, super fun.
Okay, so this one... Okay, this game is... you're going to see that this game is pretty beat up. As it looks like it's got a nice big gouge here. The board is all worn out on the corners. And that's because I've had this since like the 1980s. So this is a game called Solarquest. And you'll see this on stuff like Board Game Geeks, etc. And I don't know, this is probably not, you know, a true hardcore board gamer's dream game or something, but it's essentially Monopoly with some additional game mechanics. So instead of going around a square for one, you are a rocket.
Here's your money.
That's your money. And so you're a rocket and you're flying around space. And the cool thing about this is that you have multiple monopolies to try and take over. So instead of just having one square, you could decide that strategically you want to try and take over every satellite that around the orbit of Jupiter. And then somebody else might go, I'm going to go after like Neptune. And so you've got multiple monopolies, which is kind of neat. But then the other fact that's neat about it is because you're these rockets, you have this extra mechanic of gas. So you have to kind of keep track of where your fuel is at. So as you move around the board, your gas depletes and you only have 25 units of gas. So you have to also manage your fuel and like gas up on certain places that you can gas up on and some places you can't. So it's kind of like, it's a more fun version of Monopoly, I think. I mean, that's my take on it.
What puts it ahead of like a typical roll and move game for you, like Monopoly?
I think I like the theme. I mean, that's one thing.
The space?
The space theme is nice.
The space age real estate game.
Space age real estate game. Yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think one of it is just, I've been playing this since childhood. So I had this in the
Nostalgia.
80s. Yeah, so there's a nostalgia factor. I mean, you can see the very 1980s design. I don't know. It's just, it's easy to understand because, you know, most people know how to play Monopoly.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot more to it, and it is actually like hidden complexity of like going, where are you going to go, which one are you going to orbit, and then you keep getting these cards. When you roll doubles, then you accidentally get warped to another place, so it messes with your strategy. And then if you play the advanced levels, you can shoot lasers at the other people.
Right.
Which I've never really played the advanced level. I've always just kept it simple.
Right.
But I think it's because it's not too hard, but the theme is good, and it's much more complex than Monopoly. Monopoly is just, it's boring. Once you buy up all the property, there's also more properties in this one.
Yeah.
There's like 6 times as many properties to buy up, which makes it way more fun.
Have you ever been able to get your daughters to play with you?
Yes.
And what did they say?
Well, my oldest daughter does not want to play any board games whatsoever. So, but my youngest is like, let's play board games. That's great.
Awesome.
So, there you go.
Foster that.
There you go. That's it. Solarquest. Look for it on eBay, I think. I think that's the only way you'll probably find it.
Out of print. So now we're pulling out a game that I just recently introduced to Chris. It is called Lords of Waterdeep. It is a worker placement game, which means that in this case you have agents that you're using on your turn, and you place them, and depending where you put them, you get different bonuses or resources or that kind of a thing. The worker placement game is a big genre in the hobby gaming, and this is one that they enjoy quite a bit. It is a Dungeons and Dragons game, and so it does take place in some world of Dungeons and Dragons that I don't know anything about.
The Waterdeep.
Yeah, the Waterdeep. But I mean, it's part of like a series that I couldn't even tell you. But it's not. The game's strength is not in its theme, or the fact that it takes place in a particular area, because there are adventurers in the game like fighters and rogues and clerics and wizards and stuff, but they're really just blocks. So the theme doesn't necessarily come through really strong.
Yeah, this is where we're talking about these little block guys. Like, so this is a fighter. Did I get this right? This is the rogue?
The rogue is the black one, yeah.
Rogue. It's a black block. Anyways.
The wizard's purple and the cleric is white. But I mean,
of course.
The thing that I love about it is just how quickly your turns go, how simple it is to play, how you can really form a clear strategy and follow through on it. Yeah, it's the setup takes a little while, but I mean you can see the insert's actually really good on this. It takes a while to put everything back in, but getting it out is a piece of cake.
Yeah, it's nice because you've got all these nice little containers to keep everything organized. Like the organization of it is fantastic. But of course, I don't want to really put it up any further than I've got it propped up right now, so it doesn't fall out. But
it's a game like a number of the games that I have that are victory point games, and again, I mean the advantage to that is just the fact that everybody's finishing the game at the same time.
Yeah.
And it can be kind of fun to find out who actually wins at the end when you're counting up those last victory points. Because you don't know necessarily who's going to win, so there's sort of an excitement level there. Yeah, so you do have a different faction you're part of. Again, it's not really thematic and that doesn't really impact anything. There is an expansion for this that I understand adds a little more theme to it, a little more depth to it.
Right.
So I'd certainly be into trying it out because I enjoyed this game quite a bit. But yeah, no, I enjoy this quite a bit, and as a result, I'd like to try out some more worker placement games.
This has definitely like been one of the games that I've been most interested in that we've played recently. This was a very strong game. Really enjoyed this one, even though I totally lost.
Well, I mean, I played it a few times and I won, which tends to be the case. The experienced person wins, but
yeah.
I think that the learning curve is pretty quick. So I'm sure in future plays it'll do better.
There you go.
Lords of Waterdeep.
Lords of Waterdeep. There you go. Okay, so this is Nathan's copy of this game, and he introduced me to this one. It's called Samurai Sword, and it's a variation on Bang. So Nate could probably speak more to this, but this was sort of his introduction to me. I just really like the theme. I think the artwork is fantastic, and I like the theme that is basically like there's a mystery of who, everybody picks a character, one person is the shogun, and so then the point of the game is, I guess, to like get the most points at the end?
Well, it depends. You're in different teams. There is that deduction element you mentioned. And
but you don't know who your team is.
Exactly. So if you're a samurai, you're trying to defend the shogun. If you're a ninja, you're trying to kill the shogun. And if you're a ronin, you're trying to outlast everybody.
Yeah.
So depending, if your team wins, you win.
So the only person you get to know who it is the shogun. So whoever draws the shogun card has to put it down, and then you know who you're playing for. That's how the teams are decided.
It's a samurai, for example.
And so the samurai is out to protect them. And yeah, it's just neat, because it's neat to have like these cards where you're building up your weapons, and then you can either use, you can use them to attack any other player, depending on how close they are around. So I think it was kind of fun when we played it, and we had, how many people? We had 6 people playing?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, and it was nice when you had enough people to round it out. And again, it's similar to if anybody's played Bang or Bang the dice game. It's that same sort of mechanic.
These games are fun because they play quickly. The deduction thing is kind of fun, so you gotta go 2 or 3 rounds before you know exactly who everybody is or what team they're on.
Totally.
The reason I like this more than standard Bang is because there is a little bit more depth to it, like with the items that you use and so on.
Right.
All of them have characters, so we got a character that has unique attributes. This is Nabunka. So you have a role, you have a character, and then every turn you can do stuff with your hand. Yeah, I mean, Bang the Dice game kind of takes the quickness of it to a new level, and those games are really fast. So that's
that's
nice
why
to
I think
have.
a lot of people like that Bang the Dice game, because it's just so fast to play.
10 or 15 minutes and you're done.
Yeah,
which is it's great to have those kind of fillers. This is of that system probably the most heavy, I guess, but it's still ultimately a light game. And again, I do prefer that theme more as well.
Totally.
And
versus the Bang is what kind of cowboys theme, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this it's good to have games that go up to this goes up to 8 players, I think, 7 players rather. And it's not always easy to find games for that many people, like 6, 7 people. So this definitely fits that bill.
And it's compact. Look at that.
Yeah. Also a bonus.
Size of my head.
Storage space becomes important when you start buying a lot of games.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there you go. Samurai Sword. Singular. Samurai Sword. Not to be confused with Samurai Swords.
Which is also known as Shogun, which is not to be confused with another game called Shogun.
That's right. 2 Shoguns. I
think they now call it Kiro, which you can't remember the name of, but at least nothing else is called that. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and watched our top 12 list. We're hoping to do more top 12.
If you're into it, please give us a like and subscribe and all that stuff. We really appreciate you guys subscribing to the YouTube channel. And if you have any suggestions for what you'd like to see a top 12 of in the future, let us know. It'd be awesome. In the future, we'll probably try and answer some questions that come up in comments at the end of the video, because that's always fun. And we've been streaming this on Periscope, so we'll probably do that again, because that was also kind of fun. So thanks to everybody who tuned in on Periscope, who's watching right now, and for those of you who are watching on YouTube who aren't watching right now, that are, anyways.
Yeah.
Meta.
Follow us on Twitter, Tiger Wolfcast.
Yeah.
Subscribe to the podcast. That is all.
That's all. Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.